Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Lekon Onobanjo. Here are the stories making headlines beyond the continent. We begin the news in Europe, where Russian President Vladimir Putin says heavily sanctioned Russia and North Korea will not tolerate Western blackmail as he visits Pyongyang more than 2 years into Moscow's Ukraine offensive. According to Putin, in addition to stating that they have independent foreign policies and reject blackmail, Russia and Korea also say they will keep opposing the practice of stifling sanctions, which the West has become accustomed to, using a tool to maintain its supremacy in the political, economic, and other domains. Now, the leaders of North Korea and Russia on Wednesday signed an agreement that deepens their military cooperation to include a mutual defense pledge to help each other if attacked, with the North Kim Jong Un calling the new ties as an alliance. Putin says the comprehensive partnership agreement provides, among others, mutual assistance in the event of aggression against one of the parties to the agreement. Putin's visit, which is likely to reshape decades of Russia-North Korea relations, comes at a time when both face international isolation and is being watched closely by Seoul and Washington.
Исключает для себя развитие военно-технического сотрудничества с Корейской Народно-Демократической Республикой в соответствии с подписанным сегодня документом.
Now, joining me on the news to discuss this is an international affairs analyst, Chuka Adewale Chukudile. Thank you so much, Chuka, for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Good evening to you. Now, how does the new mutual defense agreement between Russia and North Korea, as we see it now, alter the strategic balance in Northeast Asia, particularly in light of existing tensions involving China, Japan, and South Korea?
Yeah, so this is a very strategic move on the part of Russia and North Korea. It's more like standing up to the United States and the G7, the Western powers, to tell them that, hey, see, we're no pushovers, you know, like you guys are world powers on your own. On this side of the block, you know, I think we also are world powers, and we have the right to determine whatever we want to determine. We have a right to go about whatever we want to pursue. We have a right to self-arm ourselves. You know, so it's more like standing up to the United States and say, hey, you guys have been bullies for so long. But for now, I think, you know, we want to just we're gonna stand up to you and, you know, and call your bluff or whatever aspect or whatever ways you feel we're gonna mean. So for me, I still feel that it's actually a very strategic move. It's going to tilt the balance in Southeast Asia. You know, it's going to tilt the balance a lot. But yeah, let's keep watching. Let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks. And yeah.
Of course, we know that the way it's going is more or less like a brewing clash of titans. But then, in what specific ways might this treaty now impact global efforts to resolving conflicts such as the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, especially considering allegations of North Korean support for Russia in this context?
That's a very good question. Because now, as it seems, the war with Ukraine is actually it's a very delicate, dicey pawn game that's being played. And with this treaty being signed, Russia plans to arm itself with North Korea. They plan to get their arms from North Korea, and this is going to cost. It's going to cost a lot of. It's going to cost what's the word for it now? It's going to cost a bit of mistrust or a bit of tension in Southeast Asia, especially when it comes to Japan, you know, and even China. Even though China has always supported Russia and North Korea, but because of the balance, China has actually been. They've also actually been on the side of, okay, let's play it safe, let's play it. But with this treaty that has been signed now, it's going to actually tilt a lot, and it's going to tilt a lot of unexpected resolutions, a lot of unexpected decisions, a lot of unexpected what have you. So it's and for Ukraine. I pity Ukraine because now they just seem like the whole world has abandoned them. Russia is going to come at them with full force. If this agreement that they have signed with North Korea, once they can get the weapons and the arms they need, Russia is going to come out full force again and go all out on Ukraine. And I feel pity for them because I don't know how long they're going to keep surviving the attack of Russia.
But it doesn't look as though the West is ready to back down in their support for Ukraine. They have been very vocal and be very supportive in terms of funds and military equipment for Ukraine to help it continue to squash and defend itself. So when you say you pity Ukraine, does it mean that there's a possibility of these mighty power probably, backing down in terms of supporting Ukraine?
The West can only do what it can do. It can only do enough. It cannot give Ukraine. Ukraine does not really have. The West is supporting Ukraine out of sympathy.
Chuka, we can't hear you again. I think we just lost some audio with you. All right, so I guess we'll be able to revisit this before we are done with the news. Chuka, if you can hear me, we can't hear you. All right, let's move on with the rest of the stories. We'll see if we can bring Chuka back on to conclude on this particular matter. In the meantime, we'll tell you that a court in Russia's far eastern city of Vladivostok on Wednesday sentenced a U.S. soldier arrested earlier this year to 3 years and 9 months in prison on charges of stealing and threats of murder. According to U.S. officials and Russian authorities, 34-year-old Staff Sergeant Gordon Black flew to the Pacific port city of Vladivostok to see his girlfriend and was arrested after she accused him of stealing from her. Russian media reported from the courtroom in the Pavlomaysky District Court in Vladivostok that the judge also ordered Black to pay tens of thousands of rubles in damages. Black's sentencing further complicates U.S. relations with Russia, which have grown increasingly tense as the fighting in Ukraine continues. Now, Russia arrests another journalist, according to reports, that is Artem Kryga, and it is accusing him of helping organizations of late opposition leader Alexei Navalny in the latest of such detention in recent months. Moscow massively cracked down on dissent as troops fight in Ukraine and has imposed censorship comparable to Soviet levels, and authorities in recent months arrested several journalists and accused them of working with or working for Navalny's organizations, which they deemed extremist. Kryga works for independent media Sotovision, which earlier reported his detention, saying it had no doubt the accusation was false. At least 3 other journalists, including Sotovision photographer Antonina Kravtsova, have been jailed on similar accusations in recent months. Staying in Europe, the European Commission said on Wednesday that France and 6 other countries should be disciplined for running budget deficits in excess of EU limits, with deadlines for reducing the gaps to be set in November. The move by the European Union's executive arm is likely to constrain any plans for extra spending by the French government that emerges from a June 30 to July 7 election, and also makes it more difficult for the national rally of Marine Le Pen, which leads in opinion polls, to deliver on promises of more public expenditure and a lower pension age.
The Commission has identified 12 member states with deficits that exceed 3% of GDP. We have analyzed the reasons of the situation and concluded that the deficit criteria is not fulfilled in 7 member states: Belgium, France, Italy, Hungary, Malta, Slovakia, and Poland. This means that for these member states, the Commission will propose decisions establishing the existence of an excessive deficit procedure.
Scottish First Minister and SNP leader John Swinney has unveiled his party's manifesto ahead of the UK general election on July 4. The party's support for an independent Scotland is at the forefront of the platform, and Swinney has promised to pursue another independence referendum should the SNP secure a majority of Scottish seats. Despite being the dominating force in Scottish politics, the tide might be starting to change, with the party expected to lose several constituencies north of the English border to a resurgent Labour Party, which is expected to form the next British government.
We've had a tough time. We've got progress to make in the polls. I'm determined that we'll make that progress for when it matters on the 4th of July. At this election, we have the opportunity to reinforce the case for Scotland becoming an independent country. If the SNP wins a majority of seats in this election in Scotland, the Scottish Government will embark on negotiations with the UK Government to turn the democratic wishes of the people of Scotland into a reality. So on July the 4th, I'm asking you to vote SNP. I'm asking you to vote SNP to put the interests of people in Scotland first. I'm asking you to vote SNP for a future made in Scotland for Scotland. Thank you very much. So this cosy consensus between the Labour Party and the Conservatives about sticking to the same fiscal rules and the same approach to the budget is going to deeply undermine Scottish public services, and the public of Scotland need to hear about it.
You're watching Beyond the Continent. We go on a short break now. We'll bring you more stories when we return. Many thanks for staying with us. We take you to North America now, where Mexico's President Andrés Manuel López Obrador says a new US citizenship pathway for 500,000 immigrants married to American nationals was announced by his counterpart Joe Biden and is in a step forward. Biden attempted a political high-wire act on Tuesday by announcing a citizenship pathway for 500,000 immigrants married to U.S. nationals in a counterweight to his recent crackdown on illegal border crossers. The Biden administration has been struggling to address immigration, a hugely divisive issue for many Americans ahead of November's presidential election.
Es muy buena la noticia de que van a regularizarse familias mexicanas en Estados Unidos, sobre todo los estudiantes, los jóvenes. Es digno de reconocimiento el que el presidente Biden actúe de esta forma. Nosotros hemos venido insistiendo en la regularización de mexicanos que llevan años trabajando honradamente en Estados Unidos y no se les ha hecho justicia. Esto, como tú lo señalas, aun cuando es parcial, ya es un avance.
We now head to the Middle East, where Israel has warned Hezbollah of the prospect of all-out war after the Lebanese militant group published a 9-minute video allegedly taken by a drone showing Israeli military and civilian locations in several Israeli cities. In a statement on X, Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz said they are getting very close to the moment of deciding to change the rules of the game against Hezbollah and Lebanon in an all-out war, and adds that Hezbollah will be destroyed and Lebanon severely beaten. Parts of the Hezbollah footage filmed in the daytime claim to show Krayot, a cluster of highly populated residential cities north of the Israeli city of Haifa and 28 kilometers south of the Lebanese border, along with malls and skyscrapers. Now, according to press reports and foreign ministries, at least 550 pilgrims have died while performing the Hajj in Mecca, highlighting the exhausting nature of this multi-day ritual that coincided again this year with a period of extreme heat. The temperatures at Mecca's Grand Mosque soared to a blistering 51.8 degrees Celsius, and majority of the fatalities were 323 Egyptian pilgrims, along with at least 60 Jordanians. The Saudi Arabia's health ministry denies the heat-related death, stating that there were no significant heat-related deaths among this year's pilgrims, as pointing to the varied health conditions and pre-existing illnesses among the pilgrims. In Asia, India is battling an extreme weather that has caused severe heat waves, landslides and floods, killing at least 11 people this week, among them a woman and her 3 daughters buried alive in a northeastern state. The floods and landslides were triggered by incessant rain in Assam state, which killed at least 6 people on Tuesday night. These conditions stemmed from fewer thunder showers as well as warm winds blowing in from neighboring arid regions. In Assam, more than 160,000 people were affected, with water surpassing the danger level in the Kopili, one of the largest tributaries of the Brahmaputra, which ranks among India's biggest rivers. Billions across Asia are grappling with extreme heat this summer in a trend that has been worsened by human-driven climate change. Well, I'll tell you that China has accused the United States of spreading false information after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Beijing's support for Russia's defense industry was prolonging the war and asked to stop. While speaking in Beijing, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Zhang said the government firmly opposed the United States spreading false information without evidence and passing the blame onto China.
在这个问题上，中方已经多次阐明我们的立场。我愿在此重申，在乌克兰危机问题上，中方从不拱火浇油、借机渔利，始终致力于劝和促谈。中方不向交战方提供武器，严格管控军民两用物项的出口，得到国际社会的高度评价。我们坚决反对美方在没有任何证据的情况下
In the meantime, China on Wednesday defended professional and restrained moves against Philippine ships near a flashpoint reef in the South China Sea after Manila accused Beijing's Coast Guard of seizing guns from Filipino Navy boats and injuring a sailor. Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Zhang said no direct measures were taken against personnel of the Philippines and law enforcement measures taken by the China Coast Guard at the site were professional and restrained. And elsewhere, Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te says China is attempting to force its country into submission, but the self-ruled island would not bow to pressure. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory and has said it will never renounce the use of force to bring it under Beijing's control. In recent years, Beijing has upped military and political pressure on the Taipei government, with the latest show of force coming 3 days after Lai's inauguration, when China conducted war games around the island.
中国并吞台湾是中华人民共和国国家政策。 除了用武力以外，近年来更是在运用非传统的胁迫方式，想要逼台湾就范了。但台湾不会屈服，台湾人民一定会捍卫国家主权，维护民主、自由、宪政的生活方式。另外，我们也感谢美国进行对台军售啊。 除了美国对台军售以外，其实美国的政府跟国会对台湾的支持，维护台海和平稳定。
Finally, Japan is set to introduce new measures to tackle over-tourism on Mount Fuji from July 1, with an online booking system to cap daily entries to 4,000 people, a $13 fee, and a checkpoint gate to ease congestion. Ahead of the summer climbing season, the governor of Yamanashi Prefecture in Japan, where Mount Fuji's Yoshida Trail is located, Katoro Nagasaki, shows climbers how to use the new crowd control system. Japan's highest mountain has become increasingly crowded during the summer hiking season, raising concerns over safety and environmental damage.
このすべての取り組みの目標というのは、国内、国外関わらず、ここ富士山を訪れていただくすべての皆さんの安全の確保、そのために場合によっては若干、登らないでくださいというお願いも、これは国内も国外のお客さんも、区別なくお願いをするような。
今までなかったから、これで1日登山できる方々の人数が減ってしまうじゃないかなと心配してるんですけど、 でもそれはそれでしょうがないと思うし、私去年の9月に登ってきたんです。
And that's all at this hour. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. You can equally follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Do watch us live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.